Sometimes life throws moments at you that hit so unexpectedly, you just freeze like David Parker did that night. Sirens slicing through the silence, flashing red and blue behind his car on a routine drive home in Granville. David's hands gripped the wheel tighter, but it wasn't just the police lights that rattled him, it was the K-9 unit, a huge German shepherd barking like it was the judge and jury. Yeah, that happened. Two officers approached, their faces lost in shadows, flashing flashlights casting sharp beams over David's license and registration. The night air was cold, but what chilled him more was that familiar knot in his stomach. Despite being a respected businessman and law-abiding citizen, under those harsh lights, he felt like a suspect. You know what I mean? Routine stop, the officer said, but the dog's aggressive growl said otherwise. David's mind raced, threading through stories of racial profiling that had dominated the news stories that now felt all too real. What am I being stopped for exactly? He asked, voice steady but tense. Silence. Just the growl of the dog and the tight grip on its leash. David noticed the dash cam blinking steadily, a silent witness recording every moment, reassuring but nerve-wracking at the same time. Then, something weird happened. The dog, instead of lunging, softened, ears perked up, body relaxed. The handler looked baffled, a crack in his tough exterior. For a moment, time seemed to pause. The dog sat calmly beside David, an unlikely peacekeeper in a night charged with tension. He's never done that before, the handler muttered. And just like that, the power dynamic shifted. The threat that had loomed large suddenly felt different. Maybe there was hope. Then the phone rang. It was Maya Parker, David's daughter. Midnight, cold, and heavy with an urgency she'd never felt before. Her father's shaky voice on the other end pulled her out of sleep and straight into action. Stay calm, he said, but she could hear the fear beneath. I'm at the north exit on Miller Street. There's a situation with the police. And Rex. Rex the dog. Maya's heart slammed against her ribs as she threw on shoes and grabbed her purse. Granville was a town where stories like this rippled fast, where whispers could ignite a wildfire of community voices. She already knew what she had to do. Alert the media, rally leaders, organize support. It was more than her father now, it was their community's fight. Pulling up near the scene, the flashing patrol cars and the soft barks felt surreal. There was her dad, calm but alert, Rex sitting quietly at his side. The absurdity wasn't lost on her, a police dog becoming an unlikely ally in a night that felt like it could go either way. With Maya there, reinforcements swelled, activists, neighbors, voices rising in solidarity. Granville's community hall overflowed, buzzing with determination and raw energy. They weren't just gathering to talk, they were gearing up to fight, to demand justice, to rewrite a narrative that too often painted them as suspects rather than citizens. Maya spoke, her voice strong and clear. We're here not just to share my father's story, but to make sure this doesn't happen again. Not to anyone. The crowd answered with stories of their own, a chorus of resilience against the systemic shadows lurking behind polished facades. Among them was Tyrone, a quiet but fierce activist who laid it out bluntly. Apologies won't cut it. We need accountability, structural change, transparency. His words hit home, sparking plans, petitions, protests, public pressure, a blueprint to push Granville's police department toward reform. The media caught wind. Cameras rolled. Microphones captured impassioned voices. Maya, alongside lawyer Lydia Kane and young activist Miles, became the public face of a movement born from that fateful night. Justice has to be blind, it can't pick and choose who it protects. Maya told a live audience, her determination unwavering. Inside the police station, things weren't easy. Chief Henderson and officers wrestled with the fallout. Rex, once just a tool for law enforcement, was now a symbol, a challenge to old ways and a beacon of something new. Officer James Blake, watching the chaos unfold, found himself questioning everything: instincts, orders, the culture he'd long been part of. In a quiet office, Blake confided to Lieutenant Diaz, maybe we've been following orders without really listening. Maybe it's time to change how we see things. Diaz nodded, sharing plans to introduce new training focusing on empathy and community connection. Meanwhile, civil rights attorney Lydia prepared legal action, aiming not just to address the night's incident, but to expose deeper systemic problems. The lawsuit would be a spotlight one they hoped would shine bright enough to force transparency and reform. Months passed, the story deepening. The town held rallies, community meetings, and a large protest where voices swelled, signs waved, and demands echoed through the streets. Maya's voice cut through the crowd. This is not just one night. This is about all of us, our neighbors, our children, our future. Detective Darren Patel, a quiet ally within the force, teamed with colleagues like Susan Mitchell to push for change from inside, recognizing the cultural shifts needed. Mayor Elizabeth Hahn stepped up, calling for policy reforms and education to bridge divides. At the courthouse, the trial became a focal point. Lydia's opening statement painted a picture of systemic injustice, calling for accountability that went beyond individuals to the institution itself. Witnesses, including officers like Rachel Peterson, spoke candidly about biases embedded in policies and practices. David's testimony was raw and powerful, grounding the abstract in lived experience. The courtroom held its breath as the jury deliberated. When a verdict came ruling against the Department for Systemic Racial Discrimination Relief, and hope flooded the room. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. Outside, crowds cheered, but Maya reminded them, this isn't the end. It's a foundation. We have to keep pushing. The police department, while shaken, began steps toward reform. Officer Blake and others embraced new roles as bridges between law enforcement and the community, fostering trust rather than suspicion. Back home, David and Maya found strength in each other and their community. Through late-night talks, shared memories, and unwavering resolve, they reclaimed their narrative not victims, but catalysts for change. Granville had shifted from whispered fears to shouted demands, from shadows of bias to calls for justice, a town wrestling with its past and choosing to rewrite its future. And Rex? That dog who sat quietly on the porch of the shelter, unaware of the legacy he'd helped ignite, basked in the summer sun, a silent symbol of hope born from defiance. So here we are, a story of unexpected heroes, of courage born in the darkest hours, and a community refusing to be silenced. What do you think? Where do we draw the line between law and justice? Between authority and accountability? Share your thoughts, because change only happens when voices rise together.